Okay.
Live now.
Okay. I now declare the public hearing open for the zoning amendment application number 2018-2 by Richard Summers of Summers Real Estate Group to amend the zoning resolution text in section 22. Is Mr. Summers here? Would you like to speak to?
Yes, please.
Present the.
Begin with tonight, this is a text amendment change. This is not a site plan. We're not going to discuss any site plans tonight.
That's right.
This is basically just a discussion and a proposal to change the to change the zoning code. Any site plans would be dealt with later on.
Excuse me, we can't hear. If you could speak into the microphone so we can hear the back.
The microphone does not project in the room. It's just for the,
I'll speak up.
but yeah.
Speak out.
A little bit of history about the Town Hall neighborhood. The code section was approved by the trustees of Concord Township in June of 2009. The current Town Hall code allows for many uses, including strip centers with various neighborhood services, doctor and dentist office, business offices, and restaurants. Section H of the code, there was an allowed use for residential, but that code did not have the terms of residential use. It also said while promoting emergent land use patterns, which I think is important today. Due to changing demographics, we are proposing a text change that will define the terms under which the Town Hall neighborhood can be used for single-family detached homes. There are many people in Concord that have contacted us and have done various amounts of development in different cities who would like to remain in Concord, stay near their family, and maintain their current lifestyle. But there aren't those choices for those people. These people are typically looking for one floor, low maintenance housing choices on smaller lots. To get into the proposed text changes to the Town Hall neighborhood, I'd like to go over the highlights of the changes we are proposing. We would be proposing a text that would be for single-family homes on deeded lots on public streets. A maximum density of 3 homes per acre, lots that are 60 feet at the building line, a minimum of 15% dedicated open space exclusive of street right-of-ways. We're proposing 15 feet minimum distance between any residence. The proposed square footages for this text amendment are the same as are required everywhere else in the township. We're not asking for any reduction in home sizes. We're also proposing a minimum of a 2-car garage with a minimum of 2 cars of off-street parking on a hard surface driveway. I think we have some important issues relative to the text change amendment that I think people are very concerned with. We have a traffic study that we had our civil engineer do. Based on the Institute of Traffic Engineers, this is a standard for addressing trip generation studies. Assuming that we did develop the maximum density of 72 units on the parcels that we're proposing to change, there would be 689 trips per day in and out of the 2 development sites. The trips generated by residential use is 29% of the next category, which would be general office, and 9% of what would be projected for medical dental use. In summary, if residential use is approved, it would generate the least amount of traffic trips. Greg, do you have that chart working? This is a traffic analysis. Residential, 72 homes maximum, there would be 689 trips per day. Next category is general office, 2,389 trips per day. medical dental office jumps up to 7,840 trips per day. This assumes maximum build out on both sides of the street. Retail shopping plaza would be 9,300 trips. Restaurant use would be 19,000. Now, probably if this were developed whether under non-residential, there would be a blended number of these trips, but you can see it residential is substantially less than any other trip per day based on traffic analysis. To the zoning chart, it's a little hard to see. The proposed text changes we made, the allowed uses are similar or exceed what is allowed in the R2 PUD and the R2 RCD zoning districts. That's basically a current township zoning code. The important issue under the environmental issues, pervious surfaces are those that are hard surfaces, roofs, driveways, sidewalks, anything that does not allow rain to. Our proposal on a residential use would be substantially less pervious surfaces than on the right chart. The red is the pervious if it were developed under different scenarios. Another important thing, the gas well and tank battery will be removed from the premises. The well will be plugged under Ohio Department of Natural Resource regulations, and there would be a 25-foot buffer from the plugged well to any residence. Impact on adjacent neighbors. We feel that the residential development under the proposed text change would create the least impact to all the neighbors. Would obviously, what we've previously talked about, be the least amount of traffic. It would generate the minimal noise. There will not be the noise that is typically generated from uses such as restaurants, outdoor patios, delivery trucks, daily garbage trucks, or noise commonly generated by dry cleaners, which is allowed use, large commercial air conditioners, etc. There would be minimal light intrusion commonly associated with office and commercial uses. The neighbors on the street behind us and going down the street Honey Lake coming in wouldn't be seeing the rear of a strip mall or an office building, truck docks, or garbage enclosures. Therefore, we think that this would be the best use for the adjacent neighbors. We feel we presented a well thought out text change. We've worked with the Concord Township. We've worked with the Lake County Planning Commission and some neighbor feedback that would allow for the best residential development in the district. And that's the conclusion of my presentation.
Mr. Summers, you don't own all the property that looking to make a text change. You don't own the town hall. What's left of town hall, correct?
We actually there are actually 4 parcels in the town hall neighborhood. There are 2 on the south side and there are 2 on the north side. And we have under option to purchase all 4 parcels.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Heather, would you like to add anything? Okay. Then, okay. We may ask you to answer some questions. Now I'll open it to questions or comments from the audience, and we'll start on this side, the first row. Is there anyone who'd like to say anything? Second row? Come to the podium and state your name and address, please. Yes.
Hi, I'm Jackie Evangelista. I live at 7105 Bridlewood Drive. I'd just like to say that I'm not in favor of this proposal. I think we have precious little territory zoned for businesses and so forth, so And we have lots and lots of places where we are building houses, have built houses, so I'm opposed.
Thank you. Anyone else in that row?
I'm going to ask questions about the
Yes,
plan.
you may.
Marcy Feather, I live on Oakhurst Avenue. And I guess my question is, do we have an idea of what the homes would look like?
May I answer?
Yes, you may.
These would typically be ranch homes. The minimum, I believe, for a ranch home in the township is 1,600, correct, Heather? 1,200. What we're finding is that these homes would be approximately 1,600 to 2,100 square feet. And typically what people do is they put a lot of amenities in it. We think that the selling price will be between $280,000 and $350,000.
And these would be, what some people call like green gateway communities with maintenance included? I mean, is it geared towards baby boomers, is it geared towards transient lifestyle?
We call it lifestyle housing, although it's not age restricted. It's typically people that are selling their larger house, saying, well, how I'm moving over here because the house is too big. Or we think that there'll be young professionals from the hospital, doctors, nurses, that don't want the maintenance. The association will maintain the common spaces and the signs in the entry, but at this point, we think that most people will want to maintain their own yard, so there's still something to do and that they'll enjoy their yard.
There'll be deed restrictions too for architectural integrity, so.
Okay. And they will be for sale, not for rent?
Correct.
Okay, because I think that was a misconception that some people had.
Again, they will be deeded houses on single-family lots.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next row? Anyone? Next row behind Mr. Summers?
Robert Aspinwall, 755 Sarah Lee Drive. Question for the developers. Is there going to be a buffer zone for I-90?
Yes, there will, although we have not developed the site plan for either one. We have a conceptual plan that we worked on a little bit for the south side. There is a large wetlands that goes from the pond on a 45-degree angle northeast, and at this point I'm not sure that anything would be built on that north side of that. There may be a buffer also. There'll be one along Concord Hampton on the south street, a mound with land on the south side of the mound with landscaping.
My question is that, you know, like down in Menor, we have the wall. You know, I mean, have we approached the state for something like that, for like a wall? I mean, who's going to pay for it if we have to put a wall in? I mean, down the line, it's going to get noisy. You're going to clear trees out?
We will not be tearing the trees out. There will be a rear buffer along 90. There has been some logging by a previous owner on the property. We did not do that. So we would not build a wall, but we would build a mound, and typically we use evergreens to, as they stay green all year long, and they're an effective noise barrier.
My second question is, have you done the traffic study for Hamden, Concord, Hamden, and Ravenna? That whole intersection, has that study been done for that intersection right now?
We only did a trip study for our both sides of the street based on, we did all 4 of them, as you saw, or 5. We have not looked at the intersection of Ravenna and 608, or Ravenna and Concord, Hampton.
Okay. My question is to the committee here, is that going to be looked at before this is even, are they planning on doing that?
Well, this is just a text amendment with
I
regards
understand
to plans. Certainly, I think part of the evaluation is the difference between what are some other alternatives, you know, commercial, which are more pavement, and some, I think, more considerable damage to stormwater issues compared to residential, quieter, less noisy. So there's, you know, whether or not it ever gets developed is just an option. At this point, they're just looking for an option to have a certain type of residential involved in that area. It's just a text amendment.
Yes.
Development plans, all that stuff comes later, if ever.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else in that row? Okay, then we'll move over to this side. First row? Second row?
I'm Mark Falcone, live at 10185 H Drive. Concord residence for probably about 35 years now. I oppose these changes to the text. I see this as the first step of the erosion of commercial and industrial property, which maintains a fair tax base for all, for industry and for residents. Not opposed to maybe a land swap if there's one available. This was brought up, I think, with the debacle with the school zoning, but I think we should not reduce the industrial commercial property here in Concord. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in that row? Would you like to speak? No. Third row? Anyone?
Denise Brewster, 7207 Alexander Drive in Concord. Just a couple of questions before I make a statement. The parcel, you're saying that this is one parcel with 72 homes, or two?
The parcel is actually a piece of property that has its own tax identification number. There are 4 parcels of land in the town hall district that this zoning would affect. There are 2 on the north side consisting of approximately 17 acres, and there's 8 acres on the south side, comprised of 4 parcels.
Okay, so your proposal is affecting which
It
it's...
would affect the district, which is all 4 parcels that remain in the district.
Okay, so it's a total of 72 homes for all 4?
If the amendment were to be passed by code, that is the most homes we could build would be 72. I don't think we can get that due to wetlands and the 15% common space area that are in this code.
Okay, and prior to this, did you ask for less density? Was there a proposal for less density?
No, this was a result
This
of...
is just a text amendment, so it's, there's
Yeah.
not a density issue, it's a
Okay.
text amendment,
Okay,
just words so far.
yeah, but it enables someone to put 3 houses on 1 acre, correct?
As proposed,
The
yes.
as proposed, yes,
Yeah, that's what we're...
in a certain area.
Okay. And once the zoning, thank you, I appreciate that. Once the zoning change is made, then does that pertain just to this property or to any commercial property or any land not developed in the township?
It's only regarding Town Hall neighborhood,
Right.
also known as THN, just that area, which is, as I'm looking, it's just right over there.
Right, okay, so, it was my understanding, the THN stands for Town Hall Neighborhood.
Right.
That was the area that you, were looking to expand, like the town hall and what's around it, or why is it called that? Just so I
Because
have-
it was by the town hall,
Just because it's by the town
just
hall?
just
Okay.
happened to be the name.
Okay. All right, because some people are thinking that that was an original plan to do something with that, because it's called that, I'm just clarifying.
No.
And that it looks like an abandonment of that property for Capitol Parkway, but I just
No.
wanted to make sure I have my facts
No,
straight.
it's Mrs. Spears' property has been there, and she's been living there for, I don't know how many years.
And she passed away.
And she passed away.
Okay.
That's the south side of the road. Across the street is where Osborne has owned for some time and put a gas well.
Yeah, I think that the distinction needs to be made. It's very important to, I think, to us and probably everybody in this room. The THM Town Hall neighborhood is only right over here. The neighborhood over at the new circle is Town Hall Center. They have nothing to do with each other. I think that's very important.
Yeah, I just
so
wanted
everybody
to
understands.
clarify so
Yeah,
that
thank
we
you.
have the terms straight. Okay, so, so therefore, it's a maximum of 72, could be less depending on what you run into, if all this was built out in this area.
Correct.
So we're clear. Okay, because, you know, you could look at this like, oh, is it 4 times 72? No, it's
No.
not. I just want to make sure. All right, the fact is, small business incentives have been offered for development, and we're counting on that so that, you know, in the area where we have land on Capitol Parkway and down Auburn and on Cryle, that we're going to continue to develop that. But, you know, I hate to see land that we already have 2 businesses on that side, that north side, and they don't have a lot of cars. In fact, I always like seeing their little garden there that the one business creates. It's not generating that kind of traffic right now. And I would have liked to have seen a continuation of that on that side. On the other side, it abuts Quail neighborhoods, but hard to say whether that should be, you know, houses or what it should be. But I just wanted to say that I would like to see it stay commercial, you know, only because it generates taxes. And there are a lot of retirees, new families. As the gentleman said here, we don't have that much of that land left. So I wanted to at least say that. And I'm also concerned about the traffic that is going to be coming that way because we do have a new school and buses are going to be coming that way, going down 608. I know there was a gentleman that was complaining last meeting where there was a traffic speed concern because so many cars are coming from Middlefield down that road, and now we're going to have more congestion at that intersection, but also at Auburn and 608. So it is a concern. I wish that to be a little more responsible on our zoning, to consider generating more taxes than having to have our fire department compete with all that traffic and also have the money to put toward another fire station if we need one someday. But, you know, we know residential does create more taxes. So I'm going to leave some questions for you to consider rather than take too much time. So, okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else in that row?
I'm John Pesic. I want to state I'm opposed to a text change. I see Mr. Summers as a man of integrity, and I appreciate his sensitivity to the needs of our community. We rarely hear that out of people who are coming through with the development. The facts are we need property for commercial uses. Commercial uses are net generators of tax revenue. Residential dwellings are net users, and I think the trustees are behind that. All of the town center development work, all the money we've spent to build new roads and roundabouts and everything else is to drive commercial development. And at the same time, we're going to do a text change to suddenly put in more houses. It doesn't make any sense. What we need in Concord is more commercial property. And given that we're going to have great commercial development someday in all of those roads that we put in, we still, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, will need additional commercial property. We only have less than 10% of our land for commercial use. That's a recipe for bankruptcy. We need to be aware of that. Again, Mr. Summers is a man of integrity, and Paul has talked about just a text change. But Mr. Summers has an option. He has negotiated a deal to build this property out. He is going to move forward if we make this text change. Make no doubt about it, we will have 3 houses per acre on that property. And there will be nothing as citizens that we can do to change the course of that trajectory. Furthermore, even though he is committed to a certain build-out that he has described, 1-story houses, nobody renting houses, etc., tomorrow, that property could be purchased from him, and someone else can develop it however they want within the text. It's what the zoning text allows. It is not what he tells us he intends to do today. We have to keep that in mind. That's really important. We change the zoning text. It allows everything under the sun in that zoning text. And there is nothing even the trustees can do to enforce buffers, enforce what a neighborhood committee rules that they might have. There's no way that that property can be limited from being rented. Every single property owner can rent their property. This can be small one-family homes that are rented to transients. There's no doubt about that. That is completely possible. Again, we have an opportunity for, as Denise said, some nice commercial development that adds value and adds tax revenue. By the way, the property right now is a net tax generator. It is assessed taxes, and it consumes virtually no services. What is the motivation to build out that property? What is the motivation to suddenly put additional tax burden on us when our taxes keep going up? I look at my tax bill year on year, I can't believe how quickly it goes up. And I've heard we're going to have to build another fire station. I've heard we're going to do all these things because Concord keeps having more and more people. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Thanks.
Thank you.
We haven't got any taxes on that, have we, Amy?
No,
How delinquent are they?
they're pretty
They
delinquent.
have property tax, right?
They're
haven't
not
paid-
paying.
They haven't paid.
Well, because they're bankrupt,
That's right, so they haven't paid in a while.
which is why they want to sell.
Correct. Next row. Anyone in the next row? Yes,
Sure,
you may.
Sure.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Ron and Donna Clevey, 7223 Hunting Lake Drive.
We've been residents in Concord for 24 years now, and we'd like to stay here as long as we can. Our property abuts to the 8 acres of Mrs. Spears' property.
How close are you to how close is the rear of your property to Mrs. Spears' house? So I can gauge that.
The back of our property has a common area,
Uh-huh.
which belongs to the Quail Hollow Master Owners Association.
Okay.
Okay? There must be maybe, I don't know, about 15 feet from the end of our...
It's tapered as you go down the 12 homes that butt up against the property, Paul.
Yeah.
And it starts at about 15 feet, goes to 20 feet, and then narrows down to 8 feet. So every home is a little bit different setback.
Yeah, but I'm just, just your rear yard is.
My yard, we're basically, we have, behind our yard, we have 12 feet of common area before Mrs. Spears' property begins.
Yeah, but where are you in relation to where the house is presently?
Oh.
How many feet?
Yeah,
I mean, is
how many houses?
is it directly behind your house? Is it to the left of your rear of your house?
Behind Mrs. Spears' house?
Yeah.
If you're looking at Mrs. Spears' house from Concord Hampton, we're to the little bit to the left of her home.
Yeah. We could see her house from our...
Right, sure. I
Yeah.
assumed you could.
But, I mean, it's quite a ways. However, this has been brought up in the past where somebody wanted to build on there, and there was supposed to be buffers, like 50 feet or so from whatever the property line was. And the property has already been marked off in our backyard where we could see. Yeah, now, last week, we sent an email to the trustees. I don't know if you folks
You
got
folks
it.
see it?
You got it.
Okay.
Okay. We just wondered, because we didn't hear anything back. But we knew we were coming here tonight and to talk about it.
We have two major concerns should this parcel go to residential. One is the depreciation of our home values. We feel that the kind of density that's being proposed would have a major effect on our home values. Our second problem that we see is the potential flooding problems. I brought some pictures, I forgot to bring them up, but I can show them to you, of the flooding behind Mrs. Spears' home, between Mrs. Spears' home and our property. It has standing water of between 18 and 24 inches, 365 days a year. That is a constant flooded area. Anyone trying to build there, I don't care if it's residential or commercial, is going to have considerable problem in developing this property. I don't know if you have walked the property, I don't know if you have walked the property. Anyhow, we see that as a major concern. If anything is attempted to be built there, we are concerned what's going to happen to that water. Will it come up into our neighborhood? The pictures I have,
Do you want me to get them?
why don't you get, I have 5 pictures that I took not more than 2 weeks ago as I walked the area in high-top boots. I was using a ruler and measuring the depth of the water. It's a major problem we see and a potential problem for the existing homeowners. Let me just, I know you said, Paul, you're not to this point yet, but these are some of the flooded areas that are back directly behind our property. And how anyone can build on there without a major water control problem is beyond me. And obviously, that is a major concern for us.
Talk about breeding ground for mosquitoes. That's it.
So those are our concerns, and obviously with those concerns, we are definitely against residential building on that, particularly high-density residential. And I have one last question. Has anyone come to the township prior to attempt to build commercial type of buildings on that piece of property on either side of Concord Hampton, north or south?
Nobody I know of.
Heather, have you ever had?
No one has submitted any
Okay.
applications to make it.
Well, is that maybe one of the reasons why the township is looking to add residential so that it can be built on and it doesn't stay vacant? That's our question.
I have one more thing to say, is with the homes, we had 24 homes there on the south side. The entrance and exit out of the Hunt Club, it's pretty busy on 608. I mean on Concord Hampton Road. And getting out of there, people that go to work in the morning and so forth, is a real challenge. And backyards would kind of interfere with
Sure.
our traffic and the design what's there now.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in that row? Okay.
Good evening, I'm Joe Armeo, 7239 Hunting Lake Drive. I'm one of the 17 who's going to be affected by this. It's a good idea to build and do different things, but in this area, there's 3 family members, we all live in a row, and we all back up against this. When we built there, we all built at the same time, one right after another. The smallest we were allowed to have was 2,200 square feet. Now, that's the smallest house on that property. Now, he's going to be building between 1,200 and 1,500 square feet, am I correct? 1,600?
That's the minimum, 12 to 1,500 is the minimum by
12.
township code.
12 to 1,500 there. Now, that's going to be backing right up to us. When our property value goes down, can I please have the name of the person who I can contact to lower my taxes? let's be serious.
When your property value goes down, they do lower your taxes.
Oh, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. If it goes down, you know, that's why they have reevaluations.
I agree with you,
Yeah.
they go down, but you know what you have to go through? Did you ever try to do it?
Yep,
Yeah, I do it a lot.
yep.
It's like fighting City Hall.
Nah, it's easy.
We don't have a, you know, this is our thing.
Sure.
If, you know, if you want to build, you know, 1,200 square feet, why don't you go at the end of Hunting Lake, at the end, where they have those condos back there, where the road stops? They're supposed to build something big back there, there's a lot of acreage back there, I was told. There's still a lot of acreage around there. Our biggest concern, and there's 3 families, we're all right in a row, is, you know, who do we have to see in contact to get our taxes reduced? Is he gonna be responsible for it? You know, we kept up with our taxes, we pay what they pay, I never argued once with it. It's been going up, we've been in it for 16 years. Never argued once. But I'm pretty sure the 17 of us all are gonna be affected one way or another. But we can't say it's gonna bring more property value.
Understand?
Thank you.
I know it's down the road yet, but I'm getting ready for that. That, you know, if this goes through, we will be ready for that. So we just want to know who to contact and, because it's, is it fair, is it right? It's like over on, was it Sarah Lee? What's those streets off behind the fire station? Down, back and around?
Jason, Christian, Alexander, yeah.
I think Sarah Lee back there?
Far Hills, way back.
A personal friend of mine built one of the biggest homes back there. They said they have to have certain square footage. So he built a very large home. Then all of a sudden, they let, he saw the smaller homes go in there, and he says, I might as well just, he's gonna walk away from it. What can he do? What can he do? And I don't want to see that happen to us. Me and the other 17 people are involved with this.
What about the condominiums just down the street from you, which are on the same street?
That's offset.
Yeah.
That's offset. We have to go down our street, there's a real nice gazebo there, and there's, the street's kind of going on an angle.
Sure.
All right? But when you're looking out and you got 10 feet, you know, Mr. Gleby's got 12, I think I've got 10, my brother-in-law next door's got 10, and, you know, it kind of narrows down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're gonna knock all those trees down, and we're gonna be right there.
Well, there'll be a buffer there too, on both sides. So you'll have a buffer, they'll have a buffer.
The buffer is fine. But when I go to sell my house, you know, what are you gonna, you know, I'm at this end and you go up the street and you can buy a house for $500,000, $400-some thousand. Yeah, my value, my house went up for the last 16 years. It's gonna turn around. We've seen it. We all seen it happen. I'm pretty sure everybody in here, if we show them raising hands, who's seen different areas go down?
I haven't seen a lot of areas in Concord Township go down. I can't think of any actually. And I'm not saying that that's, you know, that's not necessarily your argument. I'm just pondering if I could recall any areas going down in value recently.
What about if they reduce the amount of homes and bring them up to 2,200 square feet? 2,250. Is it 2,250, David?
They told me 2,200.
2,200, okay, we won't split hairs. Instead of putting 70-some homes, put 20, you know, bringing the value up. Now, how are they gonna build on the north side of that? Did I hear that you're gonna build on the north side of Boulevard also, of 608?
Not of 608, sir, of Concord Hampton.
Concord Hampton, I'm sorry.
There is a possibility we build there, that's our goal. If the code was changed.
I was personally told that nothing can be built on there because somebody tried to build, and the way it goes down, the pumping station that they would need is enormously expensive. Because it goes down and you get it up to the street.
Riverside.
What's that?
That was Riverside, that's like.
Is that who, I knew somebody was gonna build there.
That was,
I think there was at one time a proposal by Redwood, or at least they talked to the township about building apartments there.
Right, it was
Rental
it was an apartment complex.
Again, if a pump station of $150,000 does nothing but increase the value of the homes, because it's another cost the people are buying that home have to incur.
Can you also mention that the square footages, those are the township minimums. We're not gonna say that we're gonna take the minimums and build every house in there 1,200 square feet. That's what the ordinances say. you could build a minimum square foot house in Concord. We're not gonna build the bare minimum there, that's not what we're gonna do.
But if you have a customer come in there and request it, are you gonna do it?
It can be done, yes.
Well, how about, do we need to go to the township and have the township change it to 2,200 square
I
feet?
guess what I'm saying is, it's not practical, it's expensive to develop nowadays, no matter where you're doing it.
Sure.
It's not practical to, in a nice community like Concord, which I live in too, to buy an expensive lot and then build a tiny house on it. It's just not how the economics ever work out. There's a lot of ranches and high density in Quail, and it's really nice development. Like you said, there's condos, there's smaller houses, bigger houses, houses that are 5 feet away from each other, and the values are solid. So we're not gonna come in and build 1,200 square foot houses, the bare minimum, bare bones. It's just not practical to what we have to do. It's gonna be expensive lots, high cost to develop, and you're in a really nice location. So they're gonna be nice ranches, and it'll be restricted on what you can build.
Correct, I agree with you. In Quail, there are different homes that are close together, but if you drive through them, I go to these houses all day long, on the road all day. You can drive up Honey Lake, you pull into a development, and it's not affecting anybody on Hunting Lake or any other street around it. You go up the first development on the left, you go way down in a zigzag back in here, those are all hidden away. There's 3 of them, all the way on the left-hand side, going up Honey Lake. It's not gonna be like right in my backyard, a buffer. Okay, let's put a buffer, we'll put some pine trees up. I'm sorry.
That's great.
Am I done?
Please address your comments to the chair, and is that it?
Yeah, that'll be it
Okay.
for now.
Thank you.
I'll do that.
All right. Is there anyone else in the last row who would like to speak?
Thank you. Vanessa Pesic, 11705 Cali Court, and I've been doing this now for decades,
Yes.
as well as many other people. And we don't come for a lot of different reasons or for very arbitrary reasons. We come here with the same request, and that is to keep high density to be as minimal as possible, to not rezone commercial property, but rather to keep it keep commercial property, commercial, residential property, residential, and the low density so that we can all keep our taxes as low as possible. We know that commercial generates taxes, and we know that residential homes consume taxes. That was in the 2004 plan, which is the last comprehensive plan where all the citizens were able to participate, not just a select few. So if this goes through, it will increase our taxes, it will increase our traffic. The traffic study was a random build-out, as though every square foot would be a dental office, and then that's how you generated the traffic numbers, which is kind of silly. And as Andy said in his March meeting, when he looked at the concept plan, he said the homes were crammed in there. And people will see the backs of the lots as you're driving down 608. So, let me go back a little bit. For decades, we have been coming here asking for low density. We ask that you don't change the density and you keep the land as low as possible. Back in 2004, which was the last comprehensive plan, it said pursue additional commercial investment for targeted corridors to maintain 8% commercial, 92% residential. Make sure you keep that split for commercial and residential. 8% is really a critical number. Below that, we start becoming a bedroom community and we don't get the taxes that we need. That has not changed at all. Fast forward today, the 8% has not changed, although in fact we could say that it will probably decrease because of the town center zoning, which is all commercial, allows residential. We have no idea how much residential will be cannibalized, but it will be taken away we will have less commercial than the 8%. So the idea of putting residents in this commercially zoned property makes no sense. We don't have to do anything right now. Just because a developer asks you doesn't mean that you have to do it. Back in 2009, when the town hall neighborhood was started, property owners had tried already several times to rezone. And again, we said no. You said no. And in fact, all the time, so I said, while I do understand that the owner could keep coming through, I'm outraged that after 5 times the town hall is coming back and saying, now we think it might be a good idea. But thankfully, many people, including Mrs. Luda, said that you had mixed feelings, that you didn't think that residential belonged in that area. Mr. Galloway said he wasn't sure. And I said that the planning, and reviewed that the planning commission and lots of others have said that it's not a wise decision. In 2008, Mr. Galloway said he thought that the residents have always wanted the trustees and their public officials, folks to manage growth as best they can to fit within what the people want in terms of their community, but balancing out the needs of the solution of the region in terms of economic development, commercial growth, and those types of things. The request in 2008 was voted down by Mr. Malcheski and Mr. Galloway. You voted no on commercial on this property. And again, in 2009, all 3 of you voted no for commercial, high density, meaning 3 homes per acre on this residential. Mr. Galloway even went further after the vote. You know, just to say a quick few words about what we did, since we still have members that came and spoke to both the zoning commission here tonight, we agree with you on cluster housing and the detached cluster homes options within the zoning text. You eloquently read statements that I made in the past with respect to preserving commercial area. I think we've done that. So again and again, we keep coming back to this. We all keep coming back, asking you to please preserve the commercial. It's not for today, but it's for the future, because we have a build out. We're not completely built out. We may be financially okay right at the moment, but not later on. Not when there's a build out of all of the residential homes. We need the commercial space. I think that it's really important that we keep talking about the zoning text, to realize that the zoning text that that you are contemplating does not say anything about buffers. The proposed setbacks are minimal in compared with R1, which is 2 homes per acre, which is what is allowed in that side of the township. It's 40 feet for the rear yard for R1, which is 2 homes per acre. This is 3 homes per acre, and they're asking for a reduction of only 25 feet. Side yard minimum is 7.5 feet. Instead of a minimum lot width of 100 feet, it's 60. In frontage, it's only 30. Front building setback is only 30. These are very small lots, and as Andy said, they're crammed in there. This is not the best use for the property. If for some reason you feel that water, stormwater runoff, Mr. Malcheski, you mentioned, if you felt that it was a huge issue, which I understand that the residents in Quail Hollow feel that it is, and you can see by their photos, then split off this bottom half and make that R1 residential, not 3 homes per acre, but the regular zoning that is allowed, 2 homes per acre with the regular setbacks that all the other residential zoning classifications have, and add some buffer in there. so that residential neighbors are not negatively affected. Keep this big, large, 19 acres commercial. It must remain commercial for the financial viability of our community. If you feel that we don't need commercial, then I ask that you present your data. Present the economic analysis to show that we are such great financial shape that when we are built out, we won't need that. In which case, I ask that you keep this public hearing open so that you can present it, so that we have a chance to review it as citizens and take a look to see whether or not we think that that is sufficient. Our levies do keep getting higher and higher. This would be another residential area. This would be more roads that the township would have to keep up. And this is higher road levies and more homes for the fire department to have to get to and increase fire. So we please ask that you vote no on building homes and that you vote yes to keep our community financially solvent and financially safe for all of us. Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa.
Anyone else? Yes.
Doesn't want me to talk. You want me to hold it? Good evening, Ms. Luda, Mr. Malcheski. I'm Jeanette Delbane, 11411 Labrador Lane. I've put it as briefly as possible. I've written it out so I don't take too much of your time. Now, I understand the business model of this proposal, which is profit for the developer, and that's perfectly fine from the developer's standpoint. Concord trustees must understand a number of things as well. First, the sense of Concord with a capital S, the sense of Concord. The reason we Concord residents have made our homes here is to avoid crowded, congested living, seeking instead open living space. This proposed plan, especially for the south side of Concord-Hampden Road, has the effect of negating that sense of place, harming current residents. Second, trustees must also keep in mind the stress this high-density proposal will put on our community safety resources. Our taxes continue to increase for these first responder services, along with road maintenance needs that are already pushed to the maximum. This high-density dwelling proposal will only aggravate this situation, requiring in the future further tax increases. Third, trustees must keep in mind that there are ecological factors that will be impacted. The large, presumably old-growth trees abutting the 9-acre area on the south side of Concord-Hampden between this proposed development and the existing homes on Hunting Lake Drive will need to be removed. If not by the developer when building, then at a later date by the homeowners, when these huge trees eventually die because of root disturbance. You've got huge trees, they've got about a 50-foot surface root area. You disturb that, those trees are going to die. This creates stresses to the water runoff from these properties, possibly causing flooding to these new dwellings, as well as the established homes on Hunting Lake Drive. Major work to control flooding on the north side of the Hunt Club was just recently completed, costing thousands of taxpayer dollars. We don't need to repeat this because tightly packed concrete surfaces in this 9-acre area cannot absorb rain or snow melt runoff. Fourth, the existing plan whereby backyards will line Concord-Hampden Road is not, I repeat, not an attractive thoroughfare to our Township Hall Commons area. There will be swing sets, jungle gyms, fences, barbecue grills, perhaps dog houses,
and other backyard paraphernalia along this road to the township commons. Actually, 3 of these lots will have their backyards facing the entrance to the hunt club. 3 backyards will face the entrance to the hunt club. Well, a jungle gym, barbecue grill, doghouse, that's going to face the entrance to the hunt club, thereby detracting from the appearance of the hunt club community and possibly lessening the property values of the nearby homes. For these reasons, I urge the township trustees to vote no on this proposal. I also urge the developer to come back to the township with a plan more in keeping with the sense of Concord for these 2 areas of land on Concord-Hamden Road, especially the proposal for the 9-acre area on the south side of the road. That's just too many homes, too many backyards facing everyone with the problem of all of the water. So vote no. Developer can come back with maybe something better. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing, and we'll take a 5-minute break.